Have you ever finished a 10-hour workday feeling completely exhausted, chemically drained, and stressed out? Yet when you look at what you actually accomplished, it amounts to almost nothing? You were busy every single minute. You replied to emails within seconds. You attended every meeting. You consumed hours of information. But you didn't build anything. You didn't create anything of value. You simply moved data from one place to another. We are living in a global epidemic of fake productivity. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that focus is simply a matter of willpower. That if you just try harder, drink more coffee, and grit your teeth, you can force your brain to concentrate. This is a fundamental lie. Focus is not a moral virtue. It is a biological function. It is a fragile state governed by specific neurochemicals, primarily dopamine, norepinephrine, and acetylcholine. And the terrifying truth is that the modern world, and perhaps your own daily habits, are actively rewiring your neurochemistry to make deep focus physiologically impossible. You are not lazy. You are not unmotivated. You are chemically compromised. In this video, we are not going to give you superficial app recommendations or generic time management hacks. We are going to expose the 6 productive habits that are secretly destroying your cognitive capacity, and we will give you the rigorous neuroscience-backed protocols to reclaim your mind. Let's begin by dismantling the most pervasive killer of human intelligence, multitasking. In the corporate world, multitasking is often worn as a badge of honor. You likely pride yourself on your ability to juggle a Slack conversation, an email draft, and a podcast simultaneously. But neuroscience is crystal clear on this. Multitasking is a biological impossibility for the human brain. Your brain cannot process 2 high-level cognitive tasks at the exact same time. It lacks the neural architecture to do so. What you are actually doing is rapid task switching. You are toggling your attention back and forth hundreds of times per hour, and this toggling comes with a heavy metabolic price tag. This is known in cognitive psychology as the switch cost effect. Every time you shift your focus from a deep work task, like writing a report or coding, to a shallow task, like checking a notification, your brain has to unload the context of the first task and load the context of the new one. This process burns oxygenated glucose in the brain, depleting your energy reserves. But the cost is not just energy, it is time and depth. A study from the University of California, Irvine, famously found that once your focus is broken by a digital distraction, it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to return to the original level of deep concentration. Dr. Sophie Leroy, a business professor, coined a term for this: attention residue. When you switch tasks, a part of your brain stays stuck, thinking about the previous task. If you check your email while writing a script, a portion of your cognitive processing power remains trapped in that email inbox even after you return to writing. You are effectively operating with a fraction of your IQ. If you check your phone every 20 minutes, you are never, not once in your entire day, operating at your full cognitive potential. You are living your entire professional life in the shallows. The action: you must implement the single tasking protocol. This is not a suggestion. It is a requirement for high performance. Group all your shallow work, emails, messages, phone calls, into 2 specific 30-minute blocks per day. Outside of these blocks, your phone must be in another room and your internet notifications must be off. You must retrain your brain to tolerate the boredom of doing one single thing at a time. The second habit is subtle, ubiquitous, and deadly: the addiction to cheap dopamine. You finish a difficult paragraph, so you reward yourself with 5 minutes of scrolling through social media. You finish a meeting, so you grab a sugary snack. You think you are taking a break. You are not. You are engaging in a chemical assault on your motivation system. Dopamine is widely misunderstood. It is not just the molecule of pleasure. It is the molecule of craving and motivation. It is what drives you to pursue goals. The problem arises when you flood your brain with high-stimulation, low-effort dopamine, like TikTok, video games, pornography, or processed sugar. As Dr. Anna Lemke, a psychiatrist at Stanford University, explains in her research on the pleasure-pain balance, the brain always seeks homeostasis. If you spike your dopamine too high, too fast, and with too little effort, your brain compensates by down-regulating your dopamine receptors. It literally reduces the number of receptors available to receive the signal. The result? You plunge into a dopamine deficit state. This manifests as anxiety, irritability, and a complete lack of motivation to do hard things. By rewarding yourself with cheap thrills during your workday, you are physiologically making hard work feel impossible. You are training your brain that effort is unnecessary for reward. You are breaking the causal link between work and satisfaction. This is why you feel brain fog. It isn't fatigue, it is dopamine depletion. You have fried your receptors with cheap inputs, leaving you unable to engage with the subtle, slow-burning satisfaction of deep work. The action: you need a dopamine detox. This does not mean living living like a monk forever, but it means strictly regulating your inputs. Stop checking your phone in the first hour of the morning. Stop using screens while you eat. Stop listening to music or podcasts every second you are walking or driving. You must resensitize your dopamine receptors so that boring work becomes interesting again. Boredom is not the enemy. It is the reset button your brain desperately needs. Trap number 3 is the yes reflex. Ambitious people often fall into the trap of believing that success follows the logic of addition, that more projects, more meetings, and more collaborations equal more success. But true mastery follows the logic of subtraction. Every time you say yes to a minor request, you are unknowingly draining a finite biological resource. This is the concept of decision fatigue. Your prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain responsible for willpower, planning, and focus, has a limited battery life each day. Every decision you make consumes energy. Should I wear the blue shirt or the white one? Should I answer this email now or later? What should I have for lunch? Social psychologist Roy Baumeister has demonstrated that willpower is a depletable resource. If you spend your morning making trivial decisions or saying yes to low-value commitments, you arrive at your most important work with an empty battery. You literally do not have the glucose required to maintain focus on complex problems. This is why Steve Jobs wore the same turtleneck every day and why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same t-shirt. They were eliminating trivial decisions to conserve neural energy for high-stakes cognition. The danger of the yes reflex is the opportunity cost. When you fill your calendar with low-leverage activities, you crowd out the deep thinking time required for breakthroughs. You become a responsive person rather than a creative person. You spend your life reacting to other people's agendas instead of setting your own. The action: adopt the hell yeah or no heuristic popularized by Derek Sivers. If a new opportunity, invitation, or request doesn't make you instantly say hell yeah, then the answer should be a polite but firm no. You must protect your cognitive energy with the same ferocity that you protect your bank account. Guard your no so that your yes actually means something. This trap is particularly dangerous for our audience because it disguises itself as a virtue. I am talking about information binging. You love learning. You listen to podcasts at 2 times speed. You read book summaries. You consume endless educational content on YouTube. You feel incredibly productive because you are learning. But ask yourself honestly, how much of that information have you actually applied in the last 30 days? This is known as the collector's fallacy. Collecting information feels like learning, but chemically, it is often just entertainment. Passive consumption, watching a video, or reading a book without taking notes or testing yourself does not build strong neural pathways. It creates the illusion of competence. You recognize the concepts when you hear them, so you think you know them, but you cannot use them. Neuroscience supports a concept called the generation effect. Studies show that information is better remembered if it is generated from your own mind rather than simply read. When you struggle to recall an idea, or when you rewrite a concept in your own words, you are physically strengthening the synaptic connections associated with that memory. Passive listening does not trigger this effect. If you consume 3 hours of content a day but produce 0 hours of output, you are not getting smarter. You are just filling your working memory with noise that will be flushed out by tomorrow morning. You are an information hoarder, not a learner. The action: you must implement a strict input-output ratio. For every hour you spend consuming content input, you must spend at least 30 minutes applying it, synthesizing it, or building with it output. Do not watch another tutorial until you have implemented the last one. Stop hoarding wisdom and start using it. Knowledge without execution is just data. You likely think you can trade sleep for more work hours. You embrace the hustle culture that glorifies 4 hours of sleep a night. You believe that sleep is for the weak. This is not just wrong, it is biological suicide. To understand why, we need to look at the glymphatic system. This is a macroscopic waste clearance system in the brain, discovered relatively recently. During your waking hours, your neurons are hard at work processing information. As a byproduct of this metabolic activity, your brain accumulates waste products, specifically proteins like beta amyloid and tau. These are toxic to your cells. Here is the critical part. The glymphatic system, which flushes these toxins out with cerebrospinal fluid, is largely disengaged while you are awake. It only kicks into high gear during deep, slow-wave sleep. If you sleep 6 hours instead of 8, you are not just tired. You are waking up with a brain full of metabolic sewage. Your prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for focus and emotional regulation, effectively shuts down. Your reaction times slow. Your ability to consolidate memory is halted. You literally lower your IQ. There is no amount of caffeine, no nootropic, and no willpower that can fix a brain that hasn't been cleaned. Trying to focus without sleep is like trying to drive a car with sludge instead of oil. The action: set a reverse alarm clock. Most people set an alarm to wake up. You need to set an alarm that tells you when to go to bed. Treat your sleep window as your #1 performance-enhancing drug. It is the foundation upon which all other cognitive functions are built. The final trap is perhaps the most insidious: perfectionism. You wait for the perfect conditions. You wait for the perfect tool. You wait for the perfect mood to start deep work. You tweak the font size on your presentation instead of writing the actual content. Perfectionism is often framed as having high standards. In reality, perfectionism is just procrastination wrapped in pride. It is the fear of judgment. It is the fear of producing something inadequate. But here is the neuroscience that will set you free. The adult brain changes through neuroplasticity. However, for neuroplasticity to occur, you need specific chemical triggers. The primary trigger for plasticity is error prediction. When you try to do something and fail, or when you struggle and feel frustration, your brain releases acetylcholine for focus and epinephrine for alertness. This chemical cocktail marks the neural circuits that need to change. The feeling of frustration is not a sign that you should stop. It is the biological signal that learning is about to happen. By avoiding the messy part of starting, by waiting for things to be perfect, you are avoiding the very errors that trigger brain growth. You are denying your brain the data it needs to optimize. The action: adopt the 70% rule. Once you have 70% of the information you need, or the plan is 70% ready, you go. You launch, you write, you build. Action clarifies, analysis confuses. You cannot steer a parked car. Speed of implementation is the ultimate competitive advantage in the modern economy. So look at your life. Look at your habits. The solution to your lack of focus is not more. You don't need more apps. You don't need more motivation videos. You don't need more hours in the day. You need less distraction, less cheap dopamine, less multitasking, less noise, less saying yes to things that don't matter. True mental power, the kind that builds empires, masters complex skills, and creates legacy, is found in the quiet. It is found in the ability to sit in a room, alone, with one single task, and not give in to the urge to escape. This capacity for deep work is the superpower of the 21st century, precisely because it is becoming so rare. We have shown you the 6 traps. We have shown you the biology behind why you are struggling. You now know that focus is an engineering problem, and you have the blueprints to fix it. The question is no longer, can I focus? The question is, will I do the uncomfortable work of subtracting the noise? I want you to do one thing right now. Do not click on the next recommended video. Do not check your notifications yet. Look at the 6 traps we discussed: multitasking, cheap dopamine, the yes reflex, info binging, sleep deprivation, and perfectionism. Pick the one trap that is damaging you the most right now, just one, and write it in the comments below as a promise to yourself that you are cutting it out starting today. Make the commitment public. I will stop multitasking. I will prioritize sleep. And if you are ready to build a life of genuine focus and mastery, hit the like button and subscribe to the Brain Line. We don't sell shortcuts, we sell wisdom. Now turn off this video, put your phone away, and go do the deep work.